Well, joining us today, we have, I reckon a bloke who's probably part of the family. Would you say, Cooper? I'd say he is.
He's up there.
Sammy Verrills. How you going, Sammy?
I'm good, Matty. Thanks for having me on. Coops has been flagging my calls lately, so it's good that he's finally here.
Only answer when I need something, Sam.
Hey, which means he'll answer it all the time. He always wants something, mate.
He's sure.
Do you know, Sammy, he used to tell me years ago when he was a kid, I said, what do you want to do? And he was like, he basically hinted that he was going to take all my jobs. And I used to go, yeah, that's cute, yeah.
Look at him now.
He's on his way.
He's on his way.
Look at me now, bro. I'm on my way.
No, he's doing good, Coops.
Hey, thanks. Proud of me. Sam, before we get into a bit of your career and stuff, we used to play a fair bit of junior football together.
Yeah.
We used to play against each other as well. I was at the Narrowena Hawks. You were at the Avalon Bulldogs.
Yep.
That's your local club, your local community. And then we joined each other at the Avalon Bulldogs. What are your memories from playing junior footy with myself?
One memory is that we won a comp together.
Correct, we did.
Under 17s.
Hell of a game.
Actually, there was a bit of history there. There was a big fight at the end of the game as well.
That's right, it made national news.
National news, current affair were trying to hit us up. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. We should say we were under 17s, but we were on our, Mad Monday, where there was no alcohol.
No alcohol.
West Coast coolers.
That's what Avalon Bulldogs.
We were getting calls from reporters and the shit.
A current affair, and everyone was trying to hit us up.
Because some blokes got banned for life from playing any
10 years.
competitive sport. Yeah, 10 years it was, some of them. It's pretty hectic.
It was.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
And the crowd got involved. Everything. It was.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, people running.
I was sitting next to my old man. My old man went to get up off the seat. I said, "Gaz, it's not a donut eating competition. Sit back down."
But one of I've spun this yarn before, probably earlier in the year. I mean, one of the great memories we've got together is the Adele concert when me, you, our mate Michael and Finn, we all went to the Adele concert. We all bought matching T-shirts. And then, unfortunately, our mate Finn, who's quite toxic on the piss,
He's unreliable.
threatened to headbutt a bloke's teeth into the back of his skull. And we got kicked out in the middle of rolling in the deep.
Yeah, we got kicked out, and I remember the secco was just like, you guys got to go. We had a few beers, obviously, and at an Adele concert, I don't know who's having beers at an Adele concert. We're the only ones that are drunk there. Anyway, we're getting kicked down. We hear rolling in the deep, and all of us just start singing that loud. We got our Adele shirts on, and old mate was like, who are these 17, 18-year-olds? We went straight back in, sat down, and everyone just goes to Finn, get the fuck out.
And, Finn is one of the
He's the best bloke ever.
Nicest bloke. Obviously, just had alcohol. He turns into a fucking monster.
until he has a beer. Eh? Another funny Finn story is I remember at our year 10 formal. So he came over to our house just for prees, get a couple pictures and whatnot before you go to the formal.
Was he at your school?
No, he was at another. Sorry, it was
at my school.
It was that's right. It was another school. Like we were the dates of girls at another school. So we were about to go, and Jack was driving us up to like a prees before we went to the formal, and Finn goes, "Oh, hey Jack, you reckon I can? I don't want your parents to see I've got like a six pack of ciders." And Jack goes, "All right." And he goes, "Do you reckon I can go chuck them in your car?" And he goes, "Yeah, mate. My car's here's my keys. My car's out the front. It's a blue Mazda." And he goes, "Sweet." Runs out there. And Finn comes back in, and Finn goes, "Nice car, Jack." And he goes, "Yeah, thanks." And he goes, "Geez, how'd you get that? Like, it's a nice one." He goes, and it was like Jack's going, "It's not that nice." And he goes, "The blue Mazda." And he goes, "No, the other one." And he goes, "No." Finn had gone and just like he had the car keys, mustn't have even pressed it, just put it in the boot of the neighbour's car.
Oh, typical Finn.
Yeah, he is. He's a massive liability.
Yeah.
But we also played junior footy at Manly together. That's where you sort of started your career out as. You were actually quite... you were probably... you're pretty modest, but you're probably one of the hottest sort of property juniors at Manly at the time, if you'd say so yourself. But what are your memories of your juniors days at Manly?
I loved playing down at Manly. Obviously, local footy. Played 4 years there, did 2 years of Matty's, 2 years of ball, and obviously that's where we played footy together. And had a lot of great memories. And obviously I moved on to the Roosters after that. But I spent 4 years there, obviously playing with you, making really good friends, and enjoyed my time there.
I get there. I cop shit off my mate Mark Fennessy all the time, who's on the board of the Roosters. He goes, "Why do you hate us so much?" I said, "Hate yous." Mate, you forget, I delivered you Sam Verrills.
Yeah, well, and Matty actually was at one game, and it was actually when we versus Penrith, which was 2 days after we went to Adele, actually.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah.
Sorry. How unprofessional.
Yeah, how unprofessional of us. But, yeah, we versus Penrith, and I remember Matty was up there with the Roosters, Craig Walker and all that, and, you know, they were watching our game, and it was probably our best game of the year, 2 days after Adele. So, yeah, I signed on after that, pretty much.
You went and took you to meet Uncle Nick.
Uncle Nick, yeah, at one of the games there, and yeah, it's sort of how that all unfolded.
A couple of years later, you scored on the first try in the grand final.
A couple of years later, incredible. Great memories.
Yeah, we're going to unpack all that. Actually, it's funny you talk about that Penrith side. We just had a little look outside because we were reminiscing on that Adele story. We didn't even realise at the time, some of the players in that Penrith SG Ball team we beat that day, Stephen Crichton was playing. Lindsay Smith, Dane Laurie, Jake Tago was in the side, Sean Blore, Jermaine Hopgood.
Wow.
Yeah, you forget about some of the players you play against in juniors, and then until they just come around and they're, you know, really well-known players now in the game, particularly Stephen Crichton.
Yeah.
Crichton's a phenomenon.
Yeah. Your old man as well, Marky Verrills, one of the great blokes on the Northern Beaches. Matthew, you get along with him quite well.
I love Marky, champion. First time I ever met your dad, well, I didn't meet your dad. It was, we coached in Narrowena. Week before, we had a bit of an upset win. Because let's face it, Coop, we weren't a great side.
No, Narrowena.
That's why he jumped ship to Avalon.
Well, initially, I wouldn't let him jump ship.
Yeah.
He was like, no. And I said, no. You're staying. And then one year, he come back so excited. He goes, Dad, you wouldn't believe it. We can't field a team. I said, I've never seen someone so excited. And, of course, then he went to. Yeah. But we had a win the week before. I think we beat North Curl. Listen to me talk. People listening going, well, the North Curl Knights. Anyway, we went. Anyway, we're warming up one day at Narrowena, and this bloke, right, he's nearly standing in our warm-up. I'm going, mate, you're right, mate. And he's standing there, and he's just watching away, and I'm like, oh, no, he's standing. I'll tell you, mate, are you right? He goes, I've got to say, mate, I'm a little worried about you blokes today. And I said, have a look at him. You shouldn't be.
That's typical MV for you. He's the biggest footy head, and he'll watch any sort of junior footy. And, you know, I remember growing up in the days, I can hear him in the sideline. Even I was playing North Sydney Bears back in 2019, and I can hear this one person just walking up and down the sideline, go for a run, Sammy, go for a run. And there was one time I looked to him, I go, shut the up. And I'm playing reserve grade, I was like, fucking piss off, mate. And then, you know, that's just my dad for you. He's the biggest footy head, and, you know, I love him.
He loves him, mate. That's you know, he's a father, you know. And he's still working on the ferries.
Still working on the tugs out at Port Botany with my brother, and yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
How would you say he's been like your biggest impact in your rugby league career?
Yeah, I think he's always the one calling me up after every training session, every game, and just talking non-stop footy. There's times where I just blatantly ignore the question he asked me because all he does is try and talk footy with you, and you know, I love him for it. But then sometimes I'm like, mate, I need a rest from footy, and he just can't let it go. So it's good though. He's a one passionate man. And, you know, I love him for it.
Well, that's the connection he's got. You know, and football is sort of the avenue for you blokes to start conversation. It's just that, it's all he wants to talk about. That's
all he wants to talk about. I come down for a weekend, it's just non-stop footy. I'm like, the reason I came down here is to chill from footy.
Mate, Avalon, like that era growing up in Avalon, it's such a beautiful place. It's a unique place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, very, very tight community. It's unlike a lot of it's a pretty rare place in Sydney.
Yeah, I loved growing up in Avalon, and you know, everyone's all best mates down there, and I think the one bad thing is that you do something and everyone knows the story there, you know what I mean? So that's how close the community is. And I played for Mona Vale Raiders as well growing up, and moved over to Avalon Bulldogs, and you know, it was the best place for me to grow up and play footy, and we all went to school together, and there was a year we won 16s, 17s, 19s and A grade, and it was back at the Doggy Dome just enjoying the night, and great memories down there.
Yeah. Hey, back on Manly for 1 second.
Yep.
Matthew's brother, when we were juniors there, Andrew Johns, of course, he used to be I suppose he was like the spine coach, but he'd do it for like the whole club, from the NRL right down to the under-16s. And we used to do these sessions with him. It was like kicking and some sort of spine drills and whatnot. What were your initial reactions to meeting Andrew Johns? Because everybody's got kind of a different impression of him, I guess.
I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not going to lie, I loved watching Joey grow up playing footy, and seeing him the first time was pretty cool. But Yeah, I don't really know. I was pretty nervous, to be honest.
Because he's quite arrogant. And
He was a bit arrogant. I thought he thought he was too good for us 16-year-olds, to be honest, at the time.
He did. I remember he used to do these every drill he'd ever show, he would always demonstrate it first because he wasn't very good at explaining it with his words, which is like, if you listen to his commentary, you'd probably understand what I'm talking about. But he'd sort of show you physically what was going on. And we do torpedoes, and he'd go, righto, you put your body here, you angle the ball here, and you hit through it, and he'd always nail it. Like, everything he did, he would always nail it. And if he didn't, he'd, like, make an excuse, like his back or his neck was fucked. Yeah, but...
his neck was always... And his back was always...
His neck was always bad.
Oh, mate. Oh.
But he'd put these torpedoes up, and he'd absolutely drill them, and then as he'd watch it glistening through the air down at Manly's Oval, he'd go, oh, guys, that's why there's only 8 of us. Always. He just always would make immortal jokes as to why there's only 8.
It's funny, like that kick, it's called the 11-on-1. It's, the way you nail a torpedo. And, for distance, you sit it low and you drive it. For a torpy, you hit it a little bit higher. Now, we learnt that mathematical equation, if you will, on kicking from a fella called Dave Aldred. Now, Dave Aldred was a rugby union player who he travels, don't know if he still does it, Dave, but he travels around the world teaching people like the kick, proper punt. Yeah. He played for the Minnesota Vikings and stuff. So you go down, he'd go righto, and you sit with the board, and he'd outline the mathematical equation about how you nail a kick, even to the point he'd watch your legs. So, Sammy, you're bandy-legged, right?
Yeah,
so so he'd say to you, righto, you need to be more probably 11 and a half. And now, what I mean 11 and 1, it's like looking at a clock. So ball's at 11, you face at 1, and you kick and it'll go straight down the line at midnight. But then he'd look at you and you go, okay, your hip to knee ratio is a little more. Sammy, you go 11:30. So it was
smart.
Smart dude. When he used to travel around the world, he'd coach guys like Johnny Wilkinson and all those, just teach them how to kick. Is this interesting? Probably not.
No,
but anyway.
I was a bit dozed off there anyway.
Sorry about that, boys. Listen, I'll go and have a swim and come back.
Hey, before we get into the Roosters, something... a very important moment that happened in your life between your Manly days and your Roosters days when we were about 15 years old, the passing of your eldest brother, Jack. Yep. First of all, what kind of bloke was your brother, Jack? Because I never got to meet him.
He was just a very, very funny bloke. He loved a beer, loved a ciggy. He was super young when he passed. He was 20 years old when he passed, and he was the laugh of the party, and he's just the older brother, and you love him to bits. And he passed through suicide back in 2015, and it was tough times for the family. And it's going on 10 years now next year, which is it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Now, he was a twin, wasn't he?
Early on he was a twin, but he never made it out like the twin. Yeah. So he ate him.
That's bizarre because you're a twin as well.
Yeah, I'm an identical twin.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's really bizarre.
Yeah.
The effect, I suppose, you were quite young, and people always talk about it all the time where a lot of families, they disconnect, particularly the mum and dad. They really become disconnected when one of their sons or daughters passes away. What was the effect on your family when that happened?
I think I still remember this day clearly. We actually played a game of footy that day. I just remember waking up at 7 o'clock to my mum screaming, and instantly you just wake up straight away just going, what's happened? And I run out there and she's just on her knees just crying, and dad's screaming, and it was pretty tough times for the family. And for me, like, my outlet was just to go play footy that day, and because I thought that's a little way to escape. And it was tough times, but it really brought the community. Like I said, Avalon's a really tight community, so it brought everyone close together, and my family's always been pretty close. But since that day, we're unbreakable, to be honest. And it was a tough day, but for me to go play footy that day, it was just an outlet. Let everything out.
Because you played, I still remember that. A lot of the boys in the team that day, we didn't know what had happened because you'd obviously just found out that morning. But you were quite quiet in the sheds, and then you went out and I don't know how you did it, to be honest, Sammy. Like, you went out and scored 2 tries, got man of the match, and then it obviously came out afterwards. Sort of what you and your family have been through.
Against West.
Yeah, West Magpies.
I remember talking to your dad not too far after, and I said to him, I said, I don't know, like, he's a special boy. In fact, and he said that that you said, because you were captain, you said, no, I'm not going to let the boys down, and you went to the game. It's quite unbelievable. And went and talking to the boys from the Roosters about it. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, that's all right.
They were always a lot of clubs try to do a bit of stuff on asking about players, and they asked about you, and I just said, I'll tell you what type of kid he is, and that was. I'm sorry, mate.
No, it's
That's
all
all
right.
right. I read something, because you spoke about it in detail before, but I read something where, and I remember going to your house not long after it, and the vibe in your house is, it's like Jack hasn't really left you guys.
No.
Like, it's very much, you guys keep him in the family still. You talk about him all the time. Like, you write him on your wrist before every game.
Yep.
I suppose, how big a motivation has he been for you in your career post then?
He's been massive for me, to be honest. Obviously when he passed back then, it's so raw, and every game from game one to where I am right now, he's always on my wrist, and he was a dummy half too back in the day, and he was a bit of a nutter on the field, to be honest, and just trying to get in fights and all that. So he's always with us everywhere we go, and we never ever forget about him. And like I said, it's almost 10 years now, which is crazy how time flies.
Yeah.
And that the day that he passed, obviously you go back to that, and just obviously being all the lads, it's always just good to get out and just play footy. And then as soon as you go back home, that's why we talk about Avalon being the tight community it is. Everyone was at home and making sure mum and dad are all right, and it still is that day. Mum's got so many friends, dad's got so many friends, and we really talk about his life, and we'll never forget about him.
Because mental health, like, particularly in this area of the Northern Beaches, Sammy, where we're from, like, a lot of blokes that we grew up with, especially over the last kind of 5 years, the amount of suicides that, blokes I went to school with, blokes you went to school with, that have sort of happened. Like, what did somebody who's experienced it quite personally yourself, what do you think it comes down to on this area of the beaches?
I'm not sure. Northern Beaches there is a lot of suicide here, and it always happens around the 18 to 20-year-olds that seem to do it. So I'm not sure if it's just a transition. Obviously, he had a full-time job working on the ferries as well, and he loved his job, and he was very passionate working for the ferries. And one day he was hoping to go to where my dad's working, and I'm not too sure. It's obviously just everyone knows everyone's stories, but it seems to happen around the 18 to 20-year-olds that seem that life's too hard. But if they can get through them tough years, there's so much more to live. Than you're 20 years old. You're still a kid. So, if you just got through those couple of days, my dad's spoken about it the week leading up to it. We were at home having dinner, and he was just always upset. He was in tears. He was going through a breakup, and we could see signs, but we never thought it was going to be that bad. And Dad always says if he had that time over again that week, he'd do it a full 360. So, it is unfortunate, and like I said, we do miss him every day. But to answer your question, I'm not sure. I think it's just people just being young and thinking that that's it. There's nothing more to live. But you got to get through them young the teens and into the early 20s.
Well, Bono wrote that a song off the U2 album, "Stuck in a Moment," which was about Michael Hutchins, the Success lead singer, about stuck in a moment that you can't get out of, and that and I think that is exactly true, Sam. Is that sometimes it's hard with young people, and in particular because they haven't got the emotional maturity to understand that. This is just a dark cloud. It'll pass.
Yeah.
Just come on, let's get through that. But
yeah,
yeah,
I appreciate you talking about that as well, Sammy. Like, one of our good mates, obviously Nico Hines, as well, as a big mental health advocate. He's had his own personal experiences with mental health, but if we don't. Better than anyone. We got to talk about it, and it's such an important thing in the world at the moment. Like, I don't. Ultimately, we had Gussie Warland on earlier in the year as well. He said ultimately the goal is if we're not striving to have zero suicides in Australia, then we're not. We're not hitting our goal, which is so true.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend as well, Gussie Warland. What he's doing there,
for
life. He's doing a really good job there.
It's amazing how quick like how things change.
Yeah.
I think probably the best example would be, well, it's not the best example that we can all relate to, is the dynamic in a rugby league club. Now, I can tell you now, my first pre-season was 1989, and if someone had come out and said, "Listen, I'm feeling down. I think I'm so I'm depressed," and like guys would literally laugh at you, and you'd be mocked, and you'd be. I think in some instances, you'd be ostracised. Now that is completely the opposite now.
Yeah, we've got all workshops now in place, and the NRL is trying really hard to do.
And particularly like you guys. I mean, you look at like you guys just still really. A lot of ways, boys still. You know what I mean? You don't realise until you get past 50 the fact that even when someone's in their 20s, they're still boys. You know, like, and to be in a high pressure environment like professional sport and all the attention it draws and the criticisms and everything that with it, it's very, very tough.
Yeah,
very difficult.
Hey, back onto your footy. We spoke about Manly. Then you go to the Roosters. Dad sort of spoke about that day at Penrith when the scout first saw you. I wanted to ask, did you meet with any other clubs before you met with the Roosters? Were there any other clubs that were interested?
Not any other clubs. I remember Manly, this is when you were going down to Melbourne as well that year, and Manly offered me to stay for the 20s for a couple of years, and I remember Roosters offered me, and I was working for A-Team Electrical at the time, being a Sparky, and I was really thinking about just staying, doing my apprenticeship and then playing 20s with Manly, not really thinking about, if I can make it or not. And I remember speaking to you, Coops, just going, you got to give it a crack. Speaking to my old man saying, got to give it a crack. And I thought, why not just jump at this opportunity? And it was really only the Roosters or Manly. And I chose to go to the Roosters, and it turned out all right.
Who'd you meet? Who were the people you met at the Roosters? Was Nick Politis and stuff involved in that?
He wasn't involved. I remember going out into Coogee, and we caught up with Craig Walker and a few of the boys there, and I was with my mum and dad. I remember the first thing Craig Walker said, I used to have long hair back in the day and used to tie it up in a ponytail, and I don't know what I was doing.
I forgot about that.
I don't know what I was doing. Anyway, and the first thing Craig Walker said to me, he goes, I shook his hand and go, hey mate, how are you? My name's Sam. He goes, first thing you're going to do is cut that hair. And I was like, sweet. So the first thing I did was go back and cut my hair. But yeah, that was my first interaction with the Roosters. And yeah, as soon as I went over there, I was pretty keen to jump over there.
Robbo?
Robbo, I never met Robbo when I was signing, but when I got into the 20s, that's when I first started seeing him around, and first had my first interaction there when I was in the 20s.
Was Sonny there? Did Sonny just...
Bill Williams?
He just left?
No, he left, but he actually came back in 2020 when COVID hit, and he came back. He was at Toronto, actually. And then he came back and he played in 2020. That was me and Radley did our knees, so we couldn't get to play with him, but it was still a pretty cool experience that he was there.
What about it, like training? I remember one day, well, I don't know why I was over that way, but I ran into Robbo and he said, mate, come and have a look through the training headquarters. And Sonny was in there training. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think everyone was just so, in awe of him because, he's done so many great things in the game, and then all of a sudden your teammates with him. It's pretty crazy, and he's a pretty humble bloke.
Yeah, I heard a story about him, Sammy, right? That first stint, he was playing. He got sick earlier in the week. Anyway, it just got progressively worse. And the doctor said, "There's no way he'll play." And he said to Robbo, I'll come. I'll see if I can warm up and wait till the end of the warm up." Anyway, he was that crook. He couldn't warm up. So he's sitting in the corner. He's just got a towel over his head down. This is not far from kick-off, right? And almost a 2-minute bell. Everyone's going, what the hell's going on? And he just went, bush, took it off, stood up and said, let's go. When that got man of the match.
Yeah.
Wow. He's an absolute machine, eh?
Yeah. He's
scary.
A beast.
2019, that's your real breakout year. You make your debut. It was down at Melbourne against the Storm.
Yeah, it was down in Melbourne. It was when Trell got his drop goal, 40 out. Just, crazy finish to a game.
That's right.
Yeah, it was down there. It was Cooper Cronk's first game back in Melbourne, actually.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Friday night.
What was that week like leading in? Because I imagine, there was a couple of you debuting that game?
Yeah, well, it actually happened. So Siwa Takiaho was actually injured in the warm-up, and then our 18th man was Josh Curran.
That's right.
And then Josh Curran was, didn't tell any fan. He was 18th man. And back then, 18th man, you're not really going to get on the field compared to nowadays. And he had no family down there or anything. He ended up debuting that night, and pretty crazy story.
But what was that week like? Because I imagine it would have been a big build-up for you. It's your debut week. They make it the clubs make it very special if it's your debut week, but I imagine it would have been a big week for Cooper Cronk as well, going back down to Melbourne.
Yeah, well, it was a big week in general as well because it was a grand final rematch from the 18 as well. And
nervous?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Cooper,
Yeah.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
Because I was nervous. I only played like 10, 15 minutes, but just to get on that night was pretty cool. And
Because I remember
my family there.
you
It was
got
pretty
on
cool.
quite early, but you went off almost as quickly as you went on. Was that a lungs?
I made
did
2
you blow
tackles
out?
and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
Really?
I'm stuck. Nah, I went on pretty late, Coop, so he obviously didn't watch the game. He's done his research.
No, I did watch it. I wasn't down there at the time, but I remember thinking, like, you were on, I was, pumped for you. And then you looked like, because a lot of people say your debut goes, it's literally like that. The game is so quick for you going from kind of at that junior into a first grade system that you can barely remember. I can barely remember some of the moments in my debut game.
I only played, 10, 15 minutes, but I went on about the 60th minute mark and I think it was a close game and it was just, I was blown early. You're just trying to get involved. You're waiting for 60 minutes to get on for your debut and you're just trying to do everything when you get on. And, I think I made 8 or 9 tackles in 2 minutes. So I was just gassed. But I think it ended up going into extra time and then,
Trill, that left foot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, what about this, Sammy? So you're going on. How surreal did it feel that you go on against the greatest hooker of all time,
Yeah, Cameron
Smith?
As soon as I got on, I remember him at marker, he was at A, and then I just thought straight away I want to pick up the ball and just run straight at him, to be honest. And I remember he clipped my ear, and all of a sudden my eardrums like burst, and I couldn't hear anything. I think he must have whacked it or something. So it was pretty cool to verse him my first game, and then fast forward, we versed him in the prelim that year at the SCG, and to play him twice was pretty cool. I said to him after the game, I go, such a privilege to verse him, mate, and he's the greatest player of all time, and to be able to, I'm actually 2 wins from 2 against him as well. So
Oh, you got him.
That's something I could hold.
you could nearly be the greatest record ever
Well, there you
against
go.
Cameron.
100% win rate against Cameron Smith. So there you go.
It's a meteor. That year it's phenomenal because I remember watching you. You came off the bench for North Sydney. You're playing against Jack that day against South. So you went from on the bench for New South Wales Cup within the same season to starting in the grand final first.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It was just a crazy year, to be honest, and I wasn't even guaranteed a contract because I was still contracted for the 20s, and I've had a good year in the under 20s that year, and Robbo gave me the call up to just have 6 weeks of pre-season before Christmas started, and then Robbo said at Christmas time he wants me to stay for another 6 weeks after, and it sort of just kept going like that, and he obviously gave me then a rookie deal, and rookie deal went into a top 30 deal into, playing a grand final that year. So it was a pretty quick year. Everything happened so fast.
It's crazy for young kids. You don't realise it in the moment how long. Everyone always says, mate, a week is a long time in rugby league. Just stay patient. And as a kid, you're like, oh, mate, no, they're full of shit.
Yeah.
I need it to happen now. But you don't realise until you look back on some experience, like your experience just then. Nico Hines is another one who he went down to Melbourne just for a pre-season. Similar thing. They did. Bellyache just kept extending it. A year later, he's on the bench for their grand final, and his career's kicked on since then.
Yep.
You play 14 games that year. I think you're nearly one of in terms of a grand final appearance in relation to how many games you've played. You're nearly one of the shortest games into a grand final.
Yeah.
How surreal was that day for you? Like, what are you feeling on grand final day that day in 2019? Because they were going for back-to-back premierships that year.
Yeah, obviously no one's done back-to-back in years at that time. Obviously Penrith just absolutely killed it and gone 4 in a row. So, I remember that day was obviously we went into day camp and obviously playing 14 games. It's a pretty big moment, and I remember when I got to the game, I told myself I didn't want to go out into the field and look around because I just didn't want to see it and soak it all in yet. And so I stayed in the sheds, and I can just remember, the sheds is like soundproof or a core stadium they call it now, and all of a sudden the 2-minute bell goes, we open the door, and all of a sudden I hear the big roar, and I'm like, holy shit, what am I about to go out to? And obviously you go and playing in front of 30,000, which is pretty cool, and playing in front of 84,000 running out, I just had to take a big breath in. And I remember looking at the screen, and they've just got a camera right on me because Jake Friend was actually he was a chance to play in that week in the prelim, and then he got ruled out and he wasn't going to play. And then all of a sudden, there was all these talks about, is he going to play, is he not going to play? And he ended up playing off the bench. And so, yeah, Robbo made me start, which was pretty cool. But, yeah, just running out, I just saw the camera right in my face, and I was like, yeah, here we go.
Okay, yeah, you got to tell us your twin brother, Ollie.
Yeah.
And believe me, people, it is a twin. Honestly, you
a little bit different, but we are twins.
Yeah, but tell us a story pre-game where I believe that twin brother Ollie, because you're right, all the conjecture was Sammy Verrills going to start, is Jake going to start, you're going to drop out of the squad, and Ollie's, your twins up there not long before kickoff, and he's coming back from the bar with the beers, and one of the Roosters fans goes, "Oh, Sammy, you're not playing?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, I am. It's just Robbo, let's have a few beers before we go."
I just remember because we had a whole big, 2 buses full of all my family and my mates come from Avalon, and Oliver, obviously, we're identical, and he looks exactly like me, and he's got a Roosters jersey on, and they've been drinking since 10 o'clock that morning. And he's had a lot of beers, and, he's gone up to, the bar, and he's got 4 beers in his hand, and some bloke next to him is obviously a Roosters fan. He must have been blind as well. He's just like, what's going on? And he's just going, "Oh, no, Robbo lets me have a few beers, settle the nerves." I end up going on and winning the game, and he was just like, "Oh, yeah, it was Robbo's masterclass."
Well, not just winning the game. Like, you score the first try in a grand final. Which was huge, because that team you guys had was star-studded. Cooper Cronk, James Tedesco, Luke Keary. And if you watch that try, it's a quick play the ball, but all of those key blokes actually wanted it. They're all calling for it. Sammy. You decide to take off. The confidence you must have had. You take off, score right next to the post against the Raiders.
The right footstep.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because what sort of confidence do those players put in you to just back yourself? Because that's a big thing for a young kid in a grand final, to not give it to Cooper Cronk or Tedesco when they're calling for it.
Yeah, I think it was last as well, and I just obviously Radley played it pretty quickly, but the whole memory went pretty fast, to be honest. And I think the best thing for my career was to come up in that system and play in front of all those players. And Teddy was the best player in the world at that time, and just killing it. And obviously playing with Cooper, Keary, even Jared as a front row. Like, we had every single player was just so good, and they always just kept reminding me, just back yourself whenever you want. And Coops was a big one, to be honest. And being a halfback, he used to always talk to me, just whatever you see, just back yourself, and you're here for a reason. And it was last play, and I don't know why I didn't pass. I just kept running, and it turned out to be good for me.
Isn't it funny with coaches, like halves will say, "Mate, listen, just back yourself. Right? Just mate, you want to run, you just run." And then all of a sudden you run, they'll go, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, he's screaming, "What? Pass the ball." I was like, "No."
Was there a moment the week before? I remember you telling me we had a beer, I think it was the week after that grand final, reflect on it. But I remember you sort of saying the prelim the week before, there was a quick play the ball, and you passed it and didn't run, or something like that. And in the week of review leading to that grand final, Cooper Cronk grabbed you, and he said, "See that, Sammy? You didn't back yourself there, or something."
Yeah, he was like, that was one time he said that, and I think the big games he always talks about just be more the games have got to be more simple. And Coops was massive for my development in the game. Obviously, he's a halfback, but he was massive for me that first year, and obviously he stayed on coaching, and I'm so lucky to be able to play with him, and pretty much every single one of those players in that game.
How do you prepare for games, Sammy?
I'm pretty laid back, to be honest, and playing at the Titans now, we play a lot of day games, to be honest, and so it sort of just comes really fast. We played with the day games, but with night games, I kind of just kick back, obviously sleep in, make brekkie, or go out to brekkie with a partner. And I can't say misses, obviously. Trish blowing up.
The people know Trish was upstairs and, "Sammy, what have you been doing?" "Oh, just overseas with the missus." She was horrified.
Don't say that.
Of all the things she's heard in this house, she took offence at that.
Exactly. So there you go. I'm trying to say partner now.
Right, well done. Mad Monday celebrations. I'd imagine it was Cooper Cronk's last year.
Yeah.
You'd just gone back to back. Run us through that week. What did you? How big a week was it? Because growing up in Avalon, you've had some big nights in your life.
Yeah.
Where does that week compare?
Yeah, it's all a massive blur, to be honest. It happened really pretty fast, but We went on till about Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and obviously not for 4 days.
No.
But that's where we ended up, and it was just as you do after a grand final, Matty. You would know. Chooks maybe not.
Hey, Avalon Bulldogs, Avalon Bulldogs, mate. We were at the Doggy Dome for a few days.
Mate, I was just thinking then when you said about the busloads, a couple of busloads of people from Avalon, I'm imagining all your mates, the Avalon boys, go and take a seat, and all of a sudden, Victor Radley's all his mates.
Well, the thing is, so Victor and all his brothers and Ted and all their brothers and my brother, they all went and kicked on as well. Like, they've won the grand final. And we're at the bowler and they're at one of the boys' houses kicking on as well. It's like they're having their Mad Monday. And then Bill has to go to work, and my brother, obviously, he's got to go to work the next day, and he calls me. I've got his phone somehow. I don't know how I got his phone, but he's texting me off Radley's brother's phone, and Billy's wigging out, and he comes to our Mad Monday, and then as you do, there's about 20 cameras in the corner, and I've walked out, and all the cameras are just filmed Billy, and Billy's just going, he's wigging out, giving him the phone. He starts stressing out, and he's going, I've got to get out of here.
How was Cooper Cronk on that Mad Monday?
He had I can't remember now. He's obviously had a few beers.
Yeah,
but,
I would have thought, because he's quite. He perceives himself quite straight 180. But I mean, his last year, and
he definitely had a big couple of days. But it was 2019 now. I can't remember. I don't want to say.
That's right.
Don't want to say too much. As well.
Well played. We'll give you a little test there, Sammy.
Don't need to say
that was a
too
test.
much.
Cooper asked us to do that.
Yeah.
The next couple of years for you at the Chookies, you spoke about it earlier. You do your ACL in 2020. You have some collarbone issues the following year. Ultimately, with a couple injuries, Roosters end up buying a couple hookers. You decide to leave and go up to the Titans. I wanted to ask you, how hard was that, especially as a young fella, winning a grand final? You obviously have such a soft spot for that Roosters club, that organisation, who are just a beast. How hard was it to leave?
It was pretty hard. I can understand their decision to sign a top quality player with Brandon, and I had, from 2020 onwards when I left, I had an eye problem, detached my retina, and then collarbone issues, broke my thumb. So it was very stop-starty, and obviously if you're not playing games, you're not going to stay on for too long. And they had the opportunity to sign another hooker, and when they did that, I sort of knew that my time was up to leave. But I don't hold any grudges. Still have very good memories at the club. Got great mates at the club still, and my time was up there, and I'm now at the Goldie, really loving my life. Met my missus up there, and
Oh, there it is.
Sorry, Trish.
Trisha,
She's coming in. I had it. And there's a great crew up there in the Goldie, and obviously the last few years we haven't got the wins that we wanted, but obviously Des been there, and we signed Regan Campbell-Gillard, and it's looking pretty promising next year. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's like that with the Roosters situation. Ruthlessness is synonymous with big clubs.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, Sam. When you go to a big club, if you look in world sport, Man U back in the day in Real Madrid, is that it's firstly, it's an honour to go to those clubs, and secondly, you understand that they are a ruthless organisation. That's why they're at the top. But for you to go there at that age, play there, win a grand final, the thing about it is, mate, they'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Like some people will be at clubs for 13, 14 years, mate, and never get to achieve that.
Yeah, I had great memories there, and I don't hold any grudges of what they've done, because it's a business at the end of the day, and I need to be playing footy, and I still talk to a lot of the players there, and it was good times.
Yeah.
First impressions of the Gold Coast when you went up there, because I suppose people that are familiar with the rugby league competition, since the Titans have come in, they haven't had a great deal of success historically, and the knock's kind of always been, sporting teams don't work up in the Gold Coast for whatever reason. People always say that, the Suns and the Gold Coast Crushers back in the day, but
Gold
going
Coast Crushers,
from
Gold Coast
Chargers?
Gold Coast
Chargers.
Chargers,
Southeast
close.
Queensland
Southeast Queensland Crushers. Sorry, got mixed up.
When you signed, by the way, with the press conference, you didn't do a Brent Todd, did you?
No.
We won't talk about what was said.
Nah.
Can you believe
Go look
that?
it up on YouTube.
Yeah, when people want to have a look on YouTube, I
Go look
cannot
it
believe. Imagine
that was what
today.
it was like back in the day.
Mate,
I'd be gone straight away.
they would honestly. I reckon if someone did that today, the integrity
you're
commission,
gone.
it'd be
You're
over.
gone.
Yeah, Sam kept those thoughts inside his head.
You're there. No.
Yeah, and he's got a partner, of
Yeah,
course.
I'm
so-
partner, Trish, partner.
But going from the Roosters,
Yeah.
a great historical club, to the new club of the Gold Coast, what was your first impressions? What was like?
It was a big transition, but you know, the Gold is a great club. I love being up there. Obviously, you guys know the Verrills, and you know, we're a pretty young squad at the moment. Obviously, Tino's captain, and you know, we got Foz there leading the way. But you know, we just gotta keep working really hard. Obviously, that the big sign was getting Des in. Obviously, he's a premiership winning coach, and you know, things will turn around. We just gotta stay working hard, and pre-season starts soon, and Des has already told us it's going to be a tough one. So I'm at Parkwood in November, December, and Jan. It's 35 degrees with it's tough. So looking forward to it.
Well, that's the thing about this, Sammy. If you want success, that's the price you got to pay, and you find that individually and collectively, when you go into a pre-season or every morning when you get up to train, if you're nervous, that's a great sign.
Yeah,
like that nervousness is. Number one, it says you care, but number two, it means you're on the right track. Whenever I know myself during my career, my best seasons were when I was getting up in the morning to go train. I was nervous. You're doing your extras, and the years that I really struggled, which were most years, was when you would actually start to think, "I've got this game by the balls."
Yeah.
Right, and straight away you go off a cliff. So that's a good sign. I mean, the thing about it with Des, right? This year, you got off to a really slow start,
Yeah.
and I think getting looked like you were coming to grips with the way that Des wanted us to play. I got no doubt coming up this year he's going to have a monster season.
Yeah, we're really, really confident with the year we're going to have next year, and obviously Regan Campbell-Gillard's a massive sign, and it almost feels like with Tino back as well, it's a whole new squad there, and Foz leading the way there, and we're really looking forward to it. And I think it was like you said, a year of transitioning with Des, and he's very. As if Des Hasler, he's a great man, but he's very, very passionate, and I don't know how he's still got that all his hair, to be honest, with all the.
I think it's a wig. I think he went to the same place as Matt Lodge went this year.
In turn.
But I mean, mate. But mate, I remember Sammy Bennett. My first grade debut, I was sitting on the bench, right, and all of a sudden, I played 21s that day, then played some reserve grade, and they said to me, I was actually on the hill, and they went, I was over there about to have a beer, and they went, can Matthew Johns report to the nice dressing room? I was like, what have I done now? Turn up there, and they said, mate, you're going to be on the bench. Anyway, I got on the second half of my debut, and I remember just being similar to you. You're tackling everything that moves. But I remember watching Des and just going, mate, how's this bloke still going? He was rock hard fit, mate. Like
he still is to this day. Like there's times where he's tackling the boys and he's still rock hard to his days. He's in his. I'm not how old. I don't know how old he is, but he's still pushing people around and tackling, and he's still rock fit to this day.
It was revolutionary in the way he trained. He mainly did body weight exercises.
Yeah.
Dips, chins, all that sort of stuff. And he actually had a video out called something like The Golden Gift. And it was his training, how to do like core training.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. I'm talking mid-90s. So that was a million miles away from
where it is now,
where the training was at that point. Is that interesting again?
No, not
probably
really.
not.
Again, another beautiful story from you. But in all seriousness, I know you guys started the year pretty, hot and cold at the start, but you really started to find
mainly cold.
Mainly
cold.
We lost the first 7.
Yeah. It's funny.
But there were some good moments.
Yeah.
No, but I think what the Titans fans took it, you just did finish very strong. Once you guys got the balance of that squad, especially without Tino, Keeney's just been a revelation at the back for you guys because they've always kind of shuffled with that halves and fullback. They've had AJ, Jaden Campbell, and now they've got Kinney. They've got a lot of fullbacks there that they've struggled to find the balance, but I think Des has started to find it.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Keanu was massive for us this year. He got Player of the Year, and AJ was starting at centre and he got injured. He played a bit of fullback, and then JC was fullback and he got injured, which gave Keanu his opportunity, and he took it with both hands and he played really well that year. And there was a little patch where we won like 7 out of 10 games, and we were just hitting on just the 8. And I remember we versed the Broncos and we beat them, and there was talks about us having a little late push to the finals, and unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. But it's going to be pretty exciting to see where we go next year. I know pre-season's going to be a big battle for the fullbacks, and they all know it, and they're very looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to the year.
I'm not asking you to comment on this, but I'll direct this at you, Cooper. I'd love to see AJ play 13, just to even have a crack at 13. I think he's, they tried him at centre, and it took him away from where his best football is. His best football is right through the centre of the field, just pinballing around. I think, look, he's actually almost the perfect 14.
He's like Connor Watson in a sense of that. Like you see how good Connor's been as a 14 this year.
He's thick set, and I just think going through the middle, like he's clever with the football, but a great runner with his speed and football. I'd love to see him have a crack at 13. I think he'd do really well there.
Yeah, he's a very smart footy player.
Hope you're listening, Des.
He's not.
I'm sure he's listening.
On Des then,
do
you have a first interaction story with Des? Because like you said before, Des is quite quirky. Like there's some funny stories at Manly where he'd get boys into the office who he thought were being a bit soft in defence, and he would actually tackle them to show them how to tackle. Is there your first little interaction with him? Anything funny?
No, not that I can remember that has stuck out, but I just remember he just plays with his hair so much, and in videos, like sometimes he just goes on and on about things, and he gets his attention by just snapping out and just starts trying to get everyone back in, because I reckon about a meeting will go for about an hour with Des, and with footy players, with front rowers, they kind of get a little bit distracted. And he'll just say some random things to see if we're listening. And but yeah, Des has got his quirks, but he's one hell of a coach.
Do you remember Cooper? We're up when he was coaching the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs were playing the Knights. This particular, I think it was a Saturday night game, and we were up in Newcastle. Now through the week on Triple M, I was a little critical of the Bulldogs and the way they were playing. So I think it was myself and you, Cooper, in the car. It was you, Jack. It was Jack, his favourite son. So I'm sitting with favourite son in the car. We're just talking about good times. Anyway, we're driving along. Next minute, phone call, look up. It's Des. And I look at Jack and I go, shh, I think, fucking, here we go. Boom. Desi, how are you, mate? Matty, how are you? Going good?
Is that Siebes?
Yeah. Yeah, good, mate, good. Mate, what's doing, Des? Mate, I was driving out the other day. I've been doing an interesting little experiment with you. Basically, he said I have a piece of paper and a pen next to me in the car when I drive out to Belmore, and I'm listening to your show, and I have two columns on the piece of paper, and one male, one female, and every caller you get at Triple M, I'll do a mark to say, and Matty, my calculations that I've done over the last month, I would say that probably 85% of your callers are male. And I went, that'd be right, Des. Yeah. So anyway, mate, what's doing, Des? What's that? No, mate, I just wanted to share that with you.
That was it.
Pretty sure you had access to that information already.
Well, it's Triple M. It's the tradie station.
It's good to know.
I took it straight to the bosses.
85%. You know what? I had a funny story about Des. I remember my first year at Melbourne.
This is good.
Now, for those people that don't know, Des used to live probably 6 doors up from us at our family home for like a decade when we were growing up. So we've seen Des a lot, had a lot to do with Des growing up. Now, my first year at Melbourne, it was 2018, Manly come down to play against Melbourne. I think it might have been Harry Grant's debut or something like that. Can't remember. Anyway, Des was sitting there sort of in the dugout looking over the field. I went, I'll go and say g'day to Des. Haven't seen him in a couple of years. I went, g'day, Des. He goes, hey, how you going, mate? How are you? I went, yeah, I'm good. And I started talking to him. As I'm talking to him, he's talking to me like a sort of like a spectator, like I was a fan. And I started to realise he has no idea who I am. And I went, oh, Des, it's I'm Matty's son, grew up down the road from me. And he goes, oh, yeah, good on you, mate, good on you. And he goes, yeah. So what do you do down here? Meanwhile, I'm sitting there in a warm-up outfit because I'm 18th man, which he had clearly no idea about. And I'm going, oh, mate, I'm a player. Like, I've got my boots on. I'm a player. And he goes, oh, no shit. He goes, I go, yeah. And he goes, good on you, buddy. Shook my hair, ruffled his hands through my hair like I was like a preschool kid, and then just walked off.
He turned to someone and said, I didn't know that Harold Matthews was playing here for us.
Are you the pre-game?
Well, you know about that, like, he was living down the road, and it was a lot happened with Des. It was when Des, Manly just won the 2011 Grand Final. and then he had a fallout with the board and he signed with the Bulldogs. So anyway, the media were sort of parked outside his house quite a bit. And anyway, one day I got there and I rang him up and I said, Desi, I'm just letting you know, mate, there's a Channel 7 crew just out the front. There's a bloke, with it. And he goes, oh, mate, yeah, you appreciate that. Anyway, 3 weeks later, I'm walking past. Anyway, his wife, Chris, they're having a garage sale. And I go, oh, how you going? Hey, Chris, how you going? There's Desi going. Yeah, mate, he's good, And I just said, yeah, he's selling some of the stuff. I walked past 5 days later, and the place is boarded up. So I said to his neighbour, who's a good mate of his, I said, mate, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. He goes, Matty, he's sold up and he's left. And I went, what? He goes, yeah, he's sold up and left. I said, did you know about it? And he goes, no, I didn't. Had no clue. He just evaporated, gone.
He's a funny man.
Is that interesting again?
No, that one actually is. It went nowhere, but it was. Sammy, we appreciate your time today. Appreciate you talking about, some personal things to you, talking about all your Roosters, your premiership. You got a great story. Good luck for next year with the Titans. We're all rooting for you up there.
Yeah.
Dad's Trisha's team is the Titans. She does go for the Titans. She's a big fan
she
of
said
yourself.
last year, I said, right, tell me who's going to make the grand final. What's the Cornella? Who's going to make the grand final? She goes, it's going to be Knights versus Titans. I went,
no, close.
But this year, hey, Sammy,
we're very confident next year.
On the back of what Cooper said, you know what, mate? The thing about it is, oftentimes people say, this fella's a good young bloke. And I say, you are one of the best, mate.
Yeah,
you are one of the best. You're always so polite to people. You're always respectful. And, mate, you've got a lot of great years ahead of you. So all the best to you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, boys.
Thanks, Sammy. Let's go have a beer.